Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues. With this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 5 of the anime series Snow White with the Red Hair. Another really enjoyable episode for me. I really love how this episode manages to tell these sort of self-encapsulated episodic stories while growing and progressing the characterizations of all of these characters who I'm growing to love. I just love and am transfixed by Shirayuki and Zen, their relationship, the unfolding dynamic between them, Mitsuhide, Kiki, Obi, all of these different characters, and being very intrigued and moved by each episodic story, which every single one of them raises the stakes and brings you to the edge of your seat in manner of speaking, and then it all ends with this level of affirmation and warmth. And this episode was no exception, had all of those elements in play, and it was very intriguing because, of course, as we see, Zen, Mitsuhide, and Kiki, respectively, they're riding out to this offshoot town that falls within Zen's kingdom's jurisdiction that they've lost touch with. They haven't heard from in a while, and they want to investigate what exactly is going on with that. And, of course, Shirayuki is along for the ride because of her now, successful apprenticeship herbalist within the kingdom. The requirements of that position have her traveling abroad and trying to gain further knowledge in that position, also get herbs and medicinal properties from these other towns and everything for the benefit of the entirety of all these towns that fall within the kingdom's jurisdiction. And it's interesting to find out through the dialogue, Kiki mentions Lord Haruka, the guy who was giving her a hard time in one of the previous episodes, begrudgingly with a sigh congratulates the fact that she did succeed and she is now officially an apprentice within the herbalist nature of the kingdom. But of course that does spell he'll still be a thorn in their sides. But of course we see that they leave her off and they make their way to Laxto. I was surprised that Obi was actually working alongside Zen now, calling Zen his master. He's kind of, I guess, temporarily they're putting him through the motions and seeing if he can be sort of a good, he went ahead of them, put it that way, to get a bird's eye view of what the lay of the land was. And of course, when they get to Laxto, they're met by only one man standing, this young man Shuka, who is sickly and taken aback, and he's fearful of like a demon spirit having overtaken the entirety of this little town. Because, and this is what I love about the series, I've touched upon this in previous episode discussion videos, the sort of cherry-picking aesthetics from the Disney Princess archives, which I'm a lifelong Disney fan. I love the Disney Princess films, and I've already compared like Shirayuki's character having similar aesthetics to Belle from Beauty and the Beast, and her being very intelligent, well-read and all this kind of stuff, and sort of she has a courage of her own and a determination of her own and wants to break free, as we see in the first episode, from her country and the prince who's lusting after her, kind of like the Gaston character in that film. Also, there are aspects of, as the title suggests, because of her pale skin, her complexion, she is Snow White with the red hair and all that kind of stuff. She has a Prince Charming in Zen, being there for her. And I like in this episode that they were kind of adapting and using the aesthetics of, Sleeping Beauty, in that the entirety of Laxto has become ill and succumb to this sleep-like illness where everyone is literally knocked out. And that, to me, it was just really astounding, and I was just gobsmacked and loved it. As soon as I saw that was what was going on, I didn't believe, as Shuka would, purport his theory that this was some kind of demonic spirit or spell that had been, crestfallen over the entirety of the town. I didn't suspect that was going to be the case at all. I haven't seen any sword and sorcery stuff as yet within the series. I suspect that there would be some sort of medicinal germ kind of situation, to the scenario. And of course, Kiki is the one who puts forth the idea of, let's go get Shirayuki. She might actually know, with her natural skills, she might be able to determine what exactly was going on. And that proved to be exactly the case. Just her level of prowess and intelligence with the medicinal herbs and all that kind of stuff. She immediately is able to concoct sort of medicines once she sees exactly what the doctors and such apothecaries of the town had been doing before they succumb as well. And it's interesting also, as this is unfolding, this idea that Zen is kind of commanding, and while he is spoken with forthrightness by Kiki, you basically see Mitsuhide keeps his own thoughts and everything on the down low, and Obi's very taken to concern about this, because it's like, you don't want Zen to get away with murder. He's still a young man, prince or no prince. His aides and everything, his well-trusted, surrounded sort of friends and compatriots, they need to express how they feel about a given scenario, depending on whether they think he's right or wrong, or he's taking the right course of action. In this case, it's called into question because Zen wants to stay behind and see to Shirayuki's, figuring this all out. But in doing so, he's really risking his own succumbing to whatever this illness is. They know nothing about it at this point. And it's a learning curve for Shirayuki throughout the course of the episode. So you have Mitsuhide finally speaking up and saying, look, you said you were going to get out of here by sundown. Let's go outside. Leave Shirayuki to the task. She's the one with the knowledge. She'll be the one to figure this out. And it's only then that Zen backs down and realizes sort of the right choice to make. And he does go outside. And there's no bad blood between them. They're sort of outside throwing snowballs at each other after the fact. And, poking fun at each other and whatever like that. So you see that they are well forged. The bond between them is well forged as being very trustworthy and compassionate and caring for each other. And but whatever it is, Mitsuhide has a hold on impressing upon Zen when he's making the right or wrong decisions. And I found that to be interesting because it's largely Zen's episode as far as the internal monologue and seeing how he feels about his kingdom and its people and how much he cares and is concerned for them and how much he takes into consideration, getting to know them and discussing things with them. We also get this through some of the dialogue between Shuka and Shirayuki later as well, from the other perspective. But he really greatly enjoys coming to this town and talking to its soldiers and talking to Shuka and hearing their stories and getting to know them, and how he is left feeling from all of this interaction. A very benevolent soul is Zen, and I love that we get that in this episode, to see that it corresponds to exactly the way, Shirayuki's personality is. They are well matched together. They're like two puzzle pieces, well fitted together in that characterization. And of course, as Shirayuki is studying all the sort of, the medicines and the medicinal logs, everything like that, it's kind of funny, no pun intended, because it ends up being the logs on the fire that are the cause. They were given them by this group of roving bandits who just handed it to this town, and then when everyone had succumbed to this sleep-like illness, they went back and looted them of all of their weapons. And of course, shortly thereafter, you find that Zen, Mitsuhide, Kiki, Obi, and everything, they get the jump on these guys and send them packing. Justice prevails. But in the midst of this, you also see that Shirayuki herself, her determination can run away with her. I thought this was very intriguing because, of course, she is somewhat of a perfectionist and she is somewhat of an obsessive when it comes to, at least in this event, finding the root of the cause of this illness and then finding a way to tamp it back down. And she's going without sleep. I mean, it's hours upon hours, a couple days go by or whatever it is, and she has found no time to sleep. And this is, it's first brought to Shuka's attention, and Zen overhears him mulling that over. Well, when does she have free time to rest herself? And we see that, as she's basically conducting her studies and looking over these logs, carrying them from one point to the other, Obi just happens to be in the area, and he sees her practically about to collapse. First she drops the box, and then when she goes to pick it up, she's about to collapse backward. And he gets there, being the monkey sort of jumping around crazy orangutan that he is, or chimp that he is, whatever you want to call him. He gets there right in time and manages to catch her mid-fall and basically saves her from really hurting herself. And even he is moved and concerned for her. And it's interesting that he's weighing sort of how she's not bringing up that when they first had an encounter, he was working for Lord Haruka and firing arrows at her and trying to threaten her to stay away from Zen and all this stuff. And she's not really holding that against him. I don't think she blames him I'm sure she remembers it. It's not that she's forgotten that entire, event. But I think she's placing the blame more so on Lord Haruka because it was Haruka's orders that were putting that all into effect, trying to keep her away from Zen and everything like that. And so there's no real bad blood between them, plus the fact that Obi very sort of honorably tried to help her and everything like that, save her, as she put it. So we see that Obi is actually an honorable character, even though he's kind of dirty and fishy as well. He's an intriguing character, put it that way. And so for that, by the end, of course, we see that Zen truly feels for Shirayuki the same way she feels for him, in the event that it kind of matches when she was reading over all of those logs and finding all the tumultuous times he went through, you know, injecting himself with poisons, trying to build up an immunity to them and everything like that, feeling the fatigue and the sickness, illness, you know, for so many days, and just being so fatigued and in pain, and she was heartbroken for him. Very much do we see that he's just as concerned, you know, that she not push herself too far. And it's kind of like a playful order, but don't do that again. Don't risk your own well-being, because I was just worried about you. I don't want to see you hurting yourself, bringing yourself to harm, even if it is for the greater good of others. You know, he really feels somewhat responsible, like he put this all on her. And it's not the case at all. You know, it was her undertaking the entirety of this, and she does have to rein in her own compulsive nature in trying to find, you know, a cure in this scenario. She was successful, and she could have taken a break, but she didn't. You got to know where your boundaries are, where your limits are, and not, you know, risk moving past them and causing more harm than good, was the emphasis of that. And again, seeing those two puzzle pieces that they represent coming together, it was just awesome. I loved this episode once again. Loved this series overall, and I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 5 of Akagami no Shirayuki-hime, or Snow White with the Red Hair, if you've seen it, if you enjoyed it as much as I did, and what you thought of the episode and the story thus far overall. Love having the conversation with you guys. And so yeah, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.